Hello, my dear students. How are you? If you remember last time, lesson number 2, again, we started talking about great minds. If you remember the famous personality that we talked about last time, it was, who was he? He was Thomas Edison. Yes, and we learned lots of new information about his life in general, even about the difficulties he had at school and how his mom exerted her time and taught him at school, and at the end he became really a famous inventor and scientist who changed the world. Yes, now we are going again, please, to start with lesson 2 about great minds, but in the activity book. So please open your books on pages 54 and 55. Okay, students, here, read the text and match a picture with a section. As you can see here, students, I have different kinds of phones, okay? Let's say this is the timeline of the inventions of the phones in general, okay? So, history of the telephone. I ask you, please, again, before you look at my answers, I want you to read on your own and decide which picture are they talking about. Like you see, the first one is done. The telephone has changed a lot over the years. The first telephones were long and tall and used to have a separate mouth and ear place. Which one is this? So please try to think, look, the first telephones, I'm going to repeat only the keywords. They were long and tall and used to have separate mouth and ear place, separate. Actually, as this one is done, it is F. This is the correct picture for this description. Now number 2, please, students, again, I want you to read and say the correct answer, which letter. Number 2, please, pay attention. Then for a long time, home phones had one piece for both listening and speaking. People used to call someone using a round dial. It is D. See? This is, that was called a round dial. Now number 3, the first mobile phones appeared in the 1970s. But look now at the features of the past mobile phones. Number 1, look, they were huge handsets that could only be used in cars. See, you can't hold the mobile phones and start walking. That was in the past. You can use the mobile phones in the past, 1970s, only in the car. They cost nearly, look, $2,000 in 1970s, which is, let's say almost 7,500 riyals. See, they were very expensive. Up to 7,500 riyals. And the battery used to run out to be finished after only 20 minutes. See, at that time, only very rich people could afford a mobile phone. Of course, that kind. Which picture is this? It is letter C, picture C. Now in number 4, in the 1980s, some wealthy people, again wealthy, it means very rich, people started to carry mobiles. But they were still very big. Until now, the mobile phones are still very big and very different from today's mobiles. They used to weigh nearly a kilo. Can you imagine? 1 kilo. But you could use them to make international calls. Before this, mobiles didn't have the power to do this. Please decide on the correct picture and compare. It is picture A. Yes, 5, in the early 1990s, mobiles became much lighter in weight. They were known as candy bar phones because of the slim rectangular shape. It is letter E. And number 6, over 30 years later, we have slim light smartphones with a touch screen and lots of functions. What will be next in the development of the mobile phones? It is letter B. These are, the modern mobile phones. Yes. Let's move now, students. Use of English. Underline 4 sentences with used to in the text. Again, students, a kind of reminder. Last lesson I said used to is used in English for past habits. Something you did in the past for, let's say, repeatedly. Okay, it should be repeated action. If it's only once, you can't use I used to. For example, if I traveled to England only for one time, this is wrong. Okay, it's incorrect, and I say I used to travel to England, because it's only one time. It should be a repeated action. If I, let's say, travel to England 7 times, 10 times, 15 times, but I stopped, I say I used to travel to England. Okay? Yes. So here, they say try to find 4 sentences in this reading text, okay, with used to. Please, students, again, I want you to find the 4 sentences before I show you the correct answers. Take your time, then compare your answers with mine. The first one here, used to have a separate mouth and ear piece. Next one, people used to call someone using a round dial. And number 3, and the battery used to run out after 20 minutes. This is one sentence. And the last one, they used to weigh nearly a kilo. Okay, but not today. Yes, these are the 4 sentences. Match the sentences halves to make true sentences about mobile phones. As you can see, the first one is done. Mobiles didn't used to have the power to make international calls. Now, students, again, I ask you to match the sentences halves before, let's say, and compare your answers with mine. Number 2, mobiles used to be, which one? It is E, okay? Mobiles used to be too expensive for most people to buy. As you can see, students, the price, as I said, it was up to 7,500,000 riyals. Okay? Yes. And number 3, mobiles used to weigh a lot more than they do now. Number 4, people only used to use mobile phones in cars. Yes, that was in the past, students. Of course, all of the sentences, as you can see, didn't use to. Again, if I want to remind you, see, after didn't, we use the infinitive, use. Here, this is positive sentence, so I say mobiles used to, mobiles used to, and here people used to use. Okay, in number 5, people didn't used to take, people didn't used to take photos with their phones in the past. And the last one, mobiles only used to make calls and send texts. That was in the past. Yes, students. Now here completes the sentences about televisions with the correct form of use or used to and a verb from the box. Okay, students, why did they put the into brackets? Because sometimes we use it if the sentence is positive. We delete it if I'm talking or using a negative or interrogative form, and a verb from the box. Okay, here. So number 1, or before even number 1, I'm going to read this again, students. Use of English, used to for past habits. We use used to talk about past habits and the states that don't happen now. People used to light their homes with candles, but not today. Streets used to be dark, not today. What did people used to do? This is a question about the past habits. Before electric light, they didn't used to have electric light in their homes. Yes. Number 1, televisions didn't used to have so many channels. Now number 2, people, TV in black and white only. I think you can find the answer. Used to watch. People used to watch TV in black and white only. Yes. And number 3, people, TV channels with a remote control. Actually, this should be negative sentence. So we say didn't, please pay attention, use to change TV channels with a remote control. And number 4, again, if you look here, question mark. So firstly, I'm going to start, because it's in the past, I start with did, and after that, did your grandparents use? See, no D, because this is a question. To own a TV when they were young. And number 5, before TVs, people, the radio to hear the news. Used to listen to the radio to hear the news. Okay, students? Hope that you did all of the answers correctly. Challenge now, answer these questions about you using used to. Of course, let's say this is a homework, because each student is going to write about his own, let's say, lifestyle. When you were 5 years old, which toys did you use to play with? So you need to start like this. When I was 5 years old, I used to play with, and write your own answer. And number 2, who used to be your best friend when you were very young? So again, you need to say the name. Used to be my best friend when I was very young. Is he still your best friend? Again, answer this. And number 3, have you ever moved house? Where did you used to live? Have you ever changed schools? Which school did you used to go? Before you come to Dar al-Dhikr, you can say, I used to go to, and say the name of your past school. And number 5, what lessons did you used to have when you started school? You know, some of the subjects you stopped learning. Now you are in the upper level. That's all for today, students. I would really like to thank you all for listening and watching. Hope you made the most use of this lesson. See you next lesson, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.